who is one of the resident artists at Vincent at Studio 724. And Shelly, I really appreciate you joining me today so we could talk about you and your amazing paintings and Magic, the famous internet cat. I hear that he's got quite the following.
He does. He's got a fan base that's far bigger than mine, and probably as it should be. He commands a lot of attention, and a lot of people come here just to see him, as they did in the past. And yeah.
Oh, he's quite the charmer.
Well, he's a character. He loves to schmooze people. He just, if anybody, especially the women come up and pet him, and he's just all over them and loving them up and giving them kisses. He's very affectionate. So
he's a great guy.
He's also very big.
And he's a foodie. I've noticed that he's definitely a foodie.
He is a foodie. Magic, you want to show your beautiful girth here? Yeah, he's we're not quite sure what he is. We think there's some ragdoll in there because that's his behavior, the way he is. He's about as easygoing as you can get, and when I clip his claws, he just goes, "Do me." So yeah.
So what is your favorite medium to work in?
I like oil.
Oil.
Oil is something that is a little forgiving, and I love to be able to work it and not have it all done immediately. Most of my commissions are acrylic because people want it yesterday, and so. But oil, you really want to do some glazing and varnish, like 6 months after it's dry. It takes a long time to dry, and depending on how much you put on it, it could take that entire 6-month period to get exactly cured the way it should be. So
okay.
Yeah.
So you really like to put time and probably passion, I would think, if you're taking that much
a
time.
little OCD.
A little OCD.
Yeah, just ask my husband.
And so, what is it about cats that you like to paint cats?
Well, I've had kitties and doggies and horses and goats and you name it since I was a kid. I always, was an animal lover, and now I'm a big advocate for dolphins and whales and things like that. So we're trying to get Tokate home from Miami Seaquarium, which they call Lolita. She's been in basically like you or I living in a bathtub for 45 years. So a lot of my royalties will go to certain animal welfare places, and like Orca Network and all of these things that have to do with animal rescue. We have 8 cats at home. So, people say, "Well, you're the crazy cat lady," and I said, "No, I'm really not the crazy cat lady. I'm married to the crazy cat man," because the last one I was the devil's advocate and I was the bad cop, and I said no, but Glenn gave me puppy eyes, and so now Mickey's 2.5 years old, and he's every bit as big as this guy, who's 9. But we wanted a dog. Cats took a vote. We lost. So right now I think those 8 mouths to feed are just enough.
Now, mentioning Glenn, you both have very different styles. When he works with his photography and he manipulates it, he has a completely different color palette than you do. And I was wondering,
That's correct.
Is that something that you two play off of each other with, to have kind of that opposite feel?
Well, Glenn's colorblind. He has a real serious red-green deficiency. So I come in and I say, "That's right," or "Nah, you're way off." But for the most part, he does really well for that. We do have a different style. He's big into landscapes. I do more portraiture and my whimsical paintings, and my landscapes kind of suck at this point. At least I think that. But we were kind of artsy from kids because he took me to the prom. We went together for 3 years. Mom broke us up 30 years later. We found each other again, and now we're together for almost 20 years.
Aww.
And but we kind of paralleled our lives in that we both were really into the arts and photography. And so when we came together, we continued to do art and photography until I retired. And just before I retired from Boeing, actually, I was a contractor all over the country for about 32 years. And when we moved out here from New York, we opened 2 galleries. We had one in Bremerton and we had one here in Port Orchard, which is where we are right now, until Mom here got burned out and decided that I just wanted to paint. So that's what we're doing now.
about painting that you enjoy so much?
Uh, some people veg in front of the TV. Some people, have a couple of drinks and a smoke. You know, some people take a nap. For me, it's relaxation.
Okay.
And I just really enjoy it. I always have, and I just my whole life now is basically spending trying to find time to paint. And I do have quite a few commissions, and that helps. And so I love deadlines. Maybe that's because I was a scheduler for 32 years. But yeah, as a scheduler, I knew that I would work in it. And being a scheduler, we always knew that, from point A to the deadline of when you had to have something done, invariably you would fill it. So getting ahead of schedule is unusual, but, we always shoot for that. But the same thing with the painting. And I want to make sure that it's exactly right, and I want my clients to be happy with it.
Fantastic.
So
Okay.
that's the main thing.
So, where do you get your wacky people from? Do you take them from life, or
No, they're out of
do
my head.
they just come out of your head?
They're out of my head. All my old people, cats, and wine that people keep asking about. They say, "Do you know these people?" And I say, "Well, if I spend a few months on my easel, I get to know them." But yeah, they're all out of my head. There's a few that remind me of people.
Okay.
When I do my professional portraits, then yeah, I'm using photography and life and things like that. But these people are just all out of here, and it takes a wacko to paint one. So
So do they develop personalities for you as you're working on them?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
they do. Some of them have started out to be kind of snarky looking, and I said, nah, I don't want them to be that way. I want them to have a little more of a fun personality. And so I work it until they get that smirk or that grin that makes it work. I'm tired of seeing old people portrayed as grumpy old,
Yes.
grumpier old men. And so I want to show that when you get into your golden years, you can still have a good time. And so that's kind of the way I do it. And I throw wine in there because I happen to like it. And I throw
Painting.
cats in there because we have a never-ending supply of entertainment and subjects, but most of them are out of my head too. I have a couple of them that are ours that found their way into the paintings, but
Okay.
um, for the most part, they're just kind of out of my head too.
Your cats are my well, actually, your chickens are my favorite thing that you paint.
That's
So
my new stuff. I
I love
decided
the
I'm going to do
chickens.
some barnyard things.
Yeah.
And, chickens are all the rage right now. Everybody's got a couple of, chickies in their backyard. And we live in kind of a semi-rural area. And we hear them down the street, announcing not just time to get up. No, they talk all day long. So, yeah, a lot of people have chickens. So I thought, well, let's do something that people are really involved in now. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, the chickens are really fun,
Yeah.
and so are the cats and the people, and it's all very fun.
And octopi.
Yes.
I
And
started doing some marine stuff, and that's kind of fun.
And recently, I was surprised with the piece that's hanging over here. Actually, that I wish we could get on camera. It's very different from everything else that you do.
That's
It's
my
a
dark
lot
side.
darker. You want to talk about that?
Actually, originally I started doing that for a Halloween party. Glenn and I have had Halloween parties almost every year since we moved here from New York, and we just had our 10th annual. I think we skipped a couple of years. But I actually did that for our Halloween party to hang on the wall. And I liked it so much that Glenn photographs artists' artwork. And he does a very good job. And since this is kind of a little bit of 3D to it, it's very difficult to capture if you're going to reproduce it. And he does a fantastic job with multimedia, which is very hard for most photographers to do
Yes.
when they're photographing people's art for reproduction. But that has been reproduced, and a few people have copies of it. But it's just kind of a fun picture. I've had it around a while now, and I'm willing to get rid of it or let loose of it. So.
It is really incredible. It really is.
Well,
It's
thanks.
it's really fun, but it's really dark at the same time.
Kind of
You know.
scary.
Yeah, kind of creepy, kind of not. It's got a lot going on. It's really good. Um, so You mentioned wine, and I definitely want to I definitely want to let everybody know about the classes that you teach here. So you want to talk about that?
Well, I call them teach the drunks to paint parties. I started doing the paint and sip parties back in 2009, and I originally thought that it was just out of my, it was, hey, that's a great idea. I think I'm going to do that. So I Googled it and I thought, is anybody else doing it? And I found a gallery in Dallas or Fort Worth or something out there in Texas that was doing a similar thing. So we started it when we were over in Bremerton, and we're doing it for some of the shipyard people because the guys like it just as much as the women, and we all have a good time. Well, when I got involved in having in the galleries where we had, you know, at any given time we had 25 to 32 artists in each gallery, I got a little busy and I kind of took over more than I really wanted to take, and then I ended up chairman of the art walk committee in 2014. It's like I was up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and this is not working. And so I basically, you know, mentioned to a few people that I didn't have time to do it and I would have liked to. Well, now it's very, very popular and it's all over the place. Um, I only usually do the paint and sip. We call them purr and paint because His Highness here comes along usually, especially if it's in, you know, here in the gallery and things like that. I probably won't take him to homes, but I do private parties. A lot of people have, you know, things like dogs and stuff that
Oh, right, yeah.
he used to love dogs.
Allergies, things like that.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
allergies
yeah.
and things. Um, I prefer to go to places like elder care facilities because
Nice.
my work portrays people, you know, who are older enjoying their life.
Mhm.
And I love the older folks. Before I got into scheduling, I was in ophthalmology for about 9 years. And I was a private scrub for a doctor, and I used to love teasing the old folks. And now I are one, you know, and so I still enjoy, you know, working with them.
Fantastic. And before we leave the subject of the paint and sip, so what's your pricing for those classes?
Oh, right now I'm charging around $40,
And when are you holding those
and
classes?
we're doing it once a month, and it's going to be, it's usually on a Tuesday night. Um, Louis got the calendar, so he's pretty much the keeper of the dates. Providing I'm available and there's nobody else renting the facility, we'll throw it out there, and we'll usually put up a notice on Facebook, you know, that we're going to have a purr and paint.
Okay.
And when we do that, I hopefully try to get the painting up there.
So keep
Most
an
of
eye
my
out for
stuff,
the 724 page, and that's where
yes,
you
the
will find it.
720 Studio
Okay.
724. I don't get mine off the internet. I make mine up in my head too, and
Okay.
I figure that if I can paint it in 2 hours, I can teach it in three. And so all of mine are originals. They're not copied off of somebody else's paint and
Oh,
sip. So,
nice. So when
yeah.
you walk away from one of your classes, you're going to get something that someone else doesn't already have.
Right,
So
right.
that's
You know,
fantastic.
unless you're in the class with everybody else.
Right.
Those people
Exactly.
will have it.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, and also if it's a family member, we try to do something a little different to pump it up a little bit so where they can put both of their pictures on the wall and they don't look like copies of the same thing.
Exactly the
I
same
like
thing.
people to think uh, it's kind of like Bob Ross did, it's your world. You know, I don't want people to do exactly what I'm doing, you know, step by step. I encourage them to reach out and try and do their own thing so that everybody's a little, I don't know, everyone's is a little more original.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you and Magic taking the time to sit down and talk today and let everyone out there who already knows you know a little bit more about you, and the people who haven't become familiar with you or Magic, the fantastic, famous
He's
internet
been
cat.
purring through the whole thing, so I
Yeah,
think he enjoyed it
he's a
too.
good guy. So thank you both very much.
Okay, thank you.